It was a blistering summer afternoon on a desolate stretch of Highway 66, the sun glaring mercilessly down on the asphalt. In a small sedan pulled over on the shoulder, Megan and her fiancé, Jake, sat in growing despair. Their car had sputtered and died miles from the nearest town, and their phones had no service. Megan leaned her head against the window, trying to suppress tears. Jake was outside, bent over the hood, his shirt drenched in sweat as he tinkered helplessly. Cars whizzed by, their drivers ignoring the couple's raised hands. Just as they began to lose hope, a black SUV slowed and pulled over in front of their car. Out stepped a man in a baseball cap and sunglasses, carrying a calm air of reassurance. "Need a hand?" he asked. Megan and Jake froze, realizing they were face to face with none other than Tom Hanks. "Oh my God, you're Tom Hanks," Megan stammered, her voice cracking with a mix of awe and relief. Tom smiled warmly, his tone light. "That's what my driver's license says," he quipped. Jake, flustered but grateful, explained the situation. The car had overheated, and they had no way to call for help. "Let's see what we're working with," Tom said, rolling up his sleeves. To their surprise, he didn't hesitate to get his hands dirty, inspecting the engine and offering practical suggestions. Megan watched in amazement, struggling to reconcile the Hollywood star with the man crouched under their hood. Tom's easygoing nature began to calm their nerves, and soon they were laughing at his stories about road trips gone wrong. Despite his best efforts, it became clear that the car wouldn't start without professional help. "All right," Tom said, standing and dusting off his hands. "Looks like we're calling reinforcements." He returned to his SUV, pulling out a satellite phone. Within minutes, he had contacted a tow truck and arranged for the couple's car to be taken to the nearest repair shop. "You're not just going to leave us here, are you?" Megan asked hesitantly. Tom shook his head. "Not a chance," he said with a reassuring grin. "Hop in. I'll give you a lift to the garage." As they rode together, Tom kept the conversation light, asking about their lives and how they had ended up on the highway. Megan and Jake shared that they were on their way to visit her grandmother, who lived several states away, and their budget was tight. "We've been saving up for this trip for months," Megan admitted, her voice tinged with worry. "Now it feels like everything's falling apart." Tom listened intently, his expression thoughtful. By the time they reached the repair shop, he had already devised a plan. While the mechanic inspected their car, Tom quietly spoke with the shop owner. Megan and Jake couldn't hear the details but saw Tom hand over his credit card. "What's he doing?" Jake whispered, but Megan could only shrug, tears forming in her eyes. When Tom returned, he gave them a reassuring nod. "The repairs are covered," he said simply. "You'll be back on the road in no time." Megan broke down, thanking him profusely, but Tom waved it off. "You'd do the same for someone else," he said with a wink. The surprises didn't stop there. While they waited for the repairs, Tom treated them to lunch at a nearby diner, where he shared stories from his career and asked about their future plans. Megan and Jake, still awestruck, couldn't believe how down-to-earth he was. "This doesn't feel real," Jake said, shaking his head as Tom chuckled. "Life's full of surprises," Tom replied. As they finished their meal, the mechanic called to say the car was ready. Before parting ways, Tom handed them a small envelope, the weight of it surprising Megan. "This is for gas and anything else you might need on the trip," he said, his expression kind but firm, dismissing their protest with a gentle wave. "It's important to me that you get where you're going without any more worries." Megan hesitated, her hands trembling as she opened the envelope. Inside were several $100s in crisp bills, along with a handwritten note that simply read, "Safe travels, always remember to pay it forward." Overwhelmed, Megan looked up at Tom, her eyes glistening. "We can't accept this," she whispered, her voice cracking with emotion. "You can, and you will," Tom replied with a warm smile. "I've been in tough spots before, and someone helped me once. Now it's my turn to pass it on." Jake extended his hand, his voice thick with gratitude. "Thank you, Mr. Hanks. We'll never forget this." Tom shook his hand firmly. "Call me Tom," he said with a wink before climbing into his SUV. As they watched him drive away, Megan and Jake stood in the heat of the afternoon, the envelope clutched tightly, feeling as though their luck had finally turned. The couple reached Megan's grandmother's house the next evening. the journey now filled with renewed hope and lightness. As they recounted the unbelievable encounter to her, her grandmother's eyes widened in astonishment. "Tom Hanks, the actor? Helping you on the side of the road?" she asked, her disbelief laced with awe. Megan laughed through her tears. "It wasn't just about the money or the help," she said, her voice steadying. "It was the way he made us feel, like we mattered, even in our worst moment." The story spread quickly among their family, and soon a relative shared the tale on social media, complete with photos of the repaired car and the handwritten note. Within hours, the post went viral. News outlets picked up the story, and comments poured in from around the world. "Tom Hanks proving once again he's the world's nicest guy," one user wrote. Others shared similar experiences, recounting moments when strangers had stepped in during their times of need. Megan and Jake were stunned by the response, but what moved them most was how the story inspired others to act. Despite the attention, Tom remained characteristically humble, declining interviews and dismissing the praise. "I just did what anyone should do," he said in a rare statement. Meanwhile, Megan and Jake decided to pay the kindness forward. They started a small fund to help travelers in need, inspired by Tom's generosity. "He didn't just help us," Megan said in an interview. "He reminded us how important it is to look out for each other." Months later, Megan and Jake received a letter from Tom, handwritten on simple stationery. "I'm glad you made it to your destination," it read. "Keep taking care of each other and the people you meet along the way." They framed the letter, keeping it as a reminder of the life-changing encounter. For Megan and Jake, the experience wasn't just about a celebrity helping them out. It was about the power of kindness to turn a moment of despair into a lasting source of hope.